Welcome back to Everybody Loves Raiken. Episode 52. Everybody wants to talk about dreams. Last time, like a dream, you guys were discussing what to do about the state of Bromdor as it no longer had a leader, as you stood in the presence of the dead body of its former leader, Lord Raiken VII. A discussion was had. A long discussion was had. Many ideas were tossed around. During this time, Jebel examined the body, determined his knowledge of medicine was not that great, but decided that he wanted to take the rings from the body, as they were very valuable. He explained to Laramendus that he wanted to have something to pawn in order to support the city as it recovered from this latest bout of wars. However, he did have to, or found that he felt he needed to, use his blight spell on the body in order to remove the rings from their corpulent owner. In the meantime, while all of that was going on in the throne room, Cyrus had excused himself, to no applause, to go talk with Naravar and Nalia, who waited outside, to let them know what was going on, and found that they were in the middle of somewhat of a hostage situation, as Drow soldiers turned city watch, slaves turned city watch, had taken hostages of the city's citizens, and demanded to be given the city in exchange for the lives of these people. Cyrus tried to negotiate with one of the Drow, and was aided by being able to silently cast detect thoughts, and determined that the Drow he was dealing with did not, in fact, want to be pushed to kill the hostages. So he began trying to find another solution. After a while of talking around the subject and refusing their demands while not closing the door on negotiations, the party determined that they needed to speak with Nalia to further their goal of reinstating order in the city, and found themselves as part of the negotiation. Leah took it upon herself to become the spokesperson for the group, as she was the one person involved who actually wanted a positive outcome for the Drow, which they took a shine to. After a long discussion about the options before them, the Drow offered to work with the party to try and find a common ground between his former slave Drow and the rest of the city. As he had put it, this city will be the spark that lights the rest of the world on fire. As he had to explain his meaning, that understanding and a new way of life would start here for the people of the surface and the Drow, and spread elsewhere. So, that concluded with the party being made to individually agree to these terms with the Drow, who they learned was named Zeph. He then excused himself to go make his people understand, and move on to the next stage of this process of trying to integrate these Drow with the society here. So, You stand here on the bridge before the Lightstone Keep, the center of Volinar, the capital of Bromdor. In the rain, as lightning flashes and thunder crashes around you, as the Drow Zeph... Oh, I guess I can rename this token. I don't lose him. Goes back to speak with his cohort. I've already lost him. Oh, there. That must be him. There he is. So, that leaves you all to determine what your next move is.
It's still raining?
Yes.
Yeah, then I suggest we get somewhere dry first.
Well, with if this Drow can convince the others to stand down, we need to just make sure that no one's gonna get hurt. Or
on
like
both sides.
Yes. We need to figure out how we want to move around to communicate this, or just make sure everything is okay.
So you're suggesting that we stay where we are so that we can keep an eye on them during their discussions?
Follow them afterwards so they don't get attacked in the streets.
I don't disagree with that, with what Leah just said. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Because just them showing up might not be a good thing, but having someone to back them up.
I don't believe we should all approach together until Zeph has had time to speak with his companions.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
True.
Yeah, I was talking about after. Yeah, we need a way to talk to the city, but right now they're all in their houses. Hopefully.
Vandar, do you have a take on this?
Say what?
What's your opinion
On where to go next?
on how to handle the current situation?
So we need a leader.
You need a leader,
We need a-
and you're also dealing with the relation between the Drow that are in the city and the people.
Okay. What am I supposed to be doing right now?
What are your thoughts on the matter?
Or what are my thoughts on the matter? Well, we promised we'd help them. We'd help the Drow integrate, right? Isn't that what we just did?
Yep.
Yeah, but we need to convey the
Promise
information
me, we
to
really
the city.
haven't integrated them yet.
Yes, that's what we have to do then.
Yes, but do you know how we can talk to all the people in the city?
No.
I was hoping that someone related to a lord might know how this works.
Unless we could somehow make an announcement to get everyone all into one area.
How do one do that on a city
Why
this
would you want
large?
to get everyone in the city into one area?
A feast day?
A square that can hold a whole ton of people.
Tristan.
Yeah.
Are there? I would have probably noticed this just being in the town last time. So, are there like these news announce people just yelling things out in this world, like in
You mean criers?
Criers?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, in normal, like, in a city on any normal day, there's going to be people who are, you know, crying for, like, shops to try and get customers to come. There'll be people crying just to give, information, about what's going on, nearby. These people do exist. Sometimes, you know, somebody has, paid some child to do it for them. But it is a very stormy, wet day, and it is definitely not any normal day.
Yeah.
You do know that through the rain at the north end of the bridge, you can now see two distinct groups on this side and then over this way, which is where the Drow are holding their hostages during the negotiation.
Oh. Maybe we should get closer. See what's going on. It's very hard to see things through this rain.
I'm still not sure that all of us approaching them now, before he has a chance to speak to his companions about our intentions, will not cause one of them to perhaps be a bit jumpy.
Then perhaps just Leah and I, who were the ones doing the negotiating.
Perhaps we should give them a minute.
Claire will step forward and say, well, the man said that he was going to go discuss it with his people, and then he separated them from the townsfolk. We should be able to go check on the townsfolk to make sure they're all right.
Yes, that.
Leah, you go.
What if I bring Claire and
I think we should go.
Cyrus with me?
I think we
Follow
should
us?
all go. We're the ones who are going to be protecting them. They need to see us.
Very well.
Just make sure your weapons are sheathed. Don't look like a threat.
And Claire is going to begin moving across the bridge, carefully avoiding the bodies.
Yeah, I'm following next to her.
It's so weird. It's specifically Nalia's token that when I try to move it, there's this huge delay after I click on it.
That's weird.
Maybe it's because of how often you switch it out? I don't know.
I think it's just
Is it-
because of how big a file it is.
I was gonna say.
That's very likely it.
Can you not make it a smaller file?
I saved it as a JPEG. I thought it would be a smaller file. Acts
Just
weird.
stick it into like Paint and just scale it down or something.
Or whatever
use?
software you use. Yeah, I would use Photoshop because I have it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
not everyone have that.
I use Paint because that's what I've got right here.
But any photo editing software can just rescale a picture.
Yeah. So,
And scale down is always easier than scale up.
as we are traveling, I'm going to try and get Nalia's attention.
Okay.
I'm just going to ask, do you have, I don't know, guilds and such in this city?
Like the Mages Guild?
Merchants guilds?
Yes, of course. Why?
But if you try to communicate information with a large group of people, it makes sense to break that group down into smaller groups. So if you have guilds devoted to certain individuals, so you have merchants guilds, maybe cobblers guilds, and what have you, get a representative from them, and they can tell them what you want them to know, and then they pass it on to someone else.
If it were me, I'd just call a town meeting or something, and then use thaumaturgy to amplify my voice to shout at all of them.
Yeah, but magic helps.
Yeah. But then you have an enormous crowd of people who, if things turn.
Turn.
Yeah, but if you have people pass it on, information can get lost along the way.
I'm not a PR person. Just tell people what you want them to know. Why wouldn't that be enough?
I just don't see the sense in announcing something about Drow to an entire city at the same time. You don't need a lot of them. You don't need a large percentage of the crowd to turn violent for it to be a dangerous situation. How many people live in this city?
A couple dozen thousand.
Mm-hmm.
But if
And
you
there's
wait,
7 of us.
If you wait to give a large number of people information, they can act before that information is given out. No matter which way you go, you have a chance of something going wrong.
Yeah, this is going to be difficult regardless.
It's a big task that you've undertaken. There's risks with any choice you make.
I agree with that.
But you still have to make a choice.
Yeah, that's why I was presenting one.
Well, my vote is to have everyone in the town square.
Same.
Is the town square able to hold thousands and thousands of people?
People can be compressed pretty well. I've run experiments.
Yep.
Oh, that's
I'm not
going to
gonna
make
question
it.
that.
That's going to make them far more open to what we're going to be discussing, isn't it?
I mean, why does it matter? You're telling them how it's gonna be.
Yeah, this.
Just
They
say,
have the
it
advantage of
normally-
numbers.
tell them how it's gonna be.
Yeah, I understand where you're going from, Jebel, but people are gonna. A lot of people are gonna take this badly, regardless of how the information is conveyed. At least now that way they can hear it from us directly and hear it how we want it to be heard. If we give the information to someone that gives the information away, they might say it in a different way and make it sound more provoking.
So write it down.
You could post flyers if you want to write it down.
Words written sound like you wanted to, and not like the person who wrote it wanted to.
What?
Means it's subjective.
Yeah, if you read something, you read it in your head, in your way. If you think something is meant sarcastically or angrily, you will take it like that, even if the writer meant it positive.
Don't write it in a way that can be construed. Misconstrued.
That sounds hard.
People don't work then.
So you approach the crowd. You find that there are several dozen people here, which I'm not putting icons on the map for, but we're just going to imagine that draw a nice little area here, make it a different color, put it on the right layer, say that, like, oops. Selected the color in the wrong spot. Filling in this area over here. Down here. So you've already got, you know, this darkened area here filled with people.
And I assume it's not one person each 5 foot square, a lot of them share squares, I assume.
Yeah, some of them share squares. There's, you know, maybe 60 people here. Maybe more. Could be as many as 100. You approach through the rain. As you came across the bridge, the Drow would have watched you go, but they were talking. You know that Zeph was speaking to them at that moment. You could hear his voice in Undercommon carrying through the storm. He was being met with both nods and hisses. And as you come here, the people see you coming through the rain, and a lot of them scrunch back and huddle close, hug their kids. They look fearful.
Yeah, I mean, understandable due to the situation.
And Claire's going to step up and address the crowd. You know that not everyone can hear her, especially as her voice quakes, and she tries to project, but you can tell it's not something that she often has to do. And she says to them, "People of Volinar, my name is Claire Selenay, and I work with the Mages Guild. I'm assistant to Nalia. Many of you know who she is. These are friends of hers. They're warriors who have been fighting many evils in the world, and they helped remove the tyrant. They're going to be working to protect you, and they're going to be working to make this city better and safer than it is now. But a lot of things are going to have to change very quickly, and we need you to be understanding of the things they have to say. Lord Raiken Sivan is dead.
That is gonna cause a little bit of an uproar, I assume.
As of right now, we don't have a leader. But we all want to make this place, our home, safe. We're going to be working together to find a way to do that. There is general murmuring in front of her. A lot of people break down. Some of them crying, some of them angrily shouting. There are people further back asking to have the what was said repeated to them, and the message begins to spread through the crowd. And slowly over time, you'll notice the crowd actually begins to come forward and you know, crescent around you as people like crunch in to hear what's going on.
I'd like to try and back away from the crowd and make sure I can keep an eye on the space between two sides, make sure no one's crossing it while we're distracted.
Okay. You can move to there. You know that the Drow and their cohort are not approaching. But eventually you will find that the crowd is trying to close in and make you an island.
Which I'm fine with. I'm just trying to make sure nobody ends up starting something before we have a chance to even try and integrate things.
And what are you going to do if someone does?
Probably put up a wall between them and the other party.
Is there a cat I hear?
Yeah.
Probably. Stella's underneath the microphone.
I was trying to identify the noise for the longest time there. I was like, what is that murmuring sound?
It eventually comes to look something like this. With the crowd.
Okay, well. Oh boy. Leah's tweeting at Thomas a little bit.
And Claire's going to place her hand on her shoulder. Just tell them what you want.
Okay, people of Volinar, my name is Leah Lumas. I'm a friend of Nalia, as Claire said. And we have been speaking with the Drow.
At this, murmur runs through the crowd around you. A lot of distrustful eyes turn toward the shadowed group through the rain.
We understand how you felt, and that this has all been very scary.
One man nearby says, "Scary. Our servants turned against us. Locked us in our homes. Threatened to kill us. This is an outrage."
Yes. They... But when you've been a slave for that long... No, it's not your choice. Being a slave, obviously, that's in the word. We wish for all to have a better life, to be able to choose the path for themselves. Get their own jobs, provide to society. Not be forced to work without salary.
What? A lot of confusion starts to go through the crowd at the moment. What are you saying? What does this have to do with making our town safe from the Drow?
The Drow... All they want is freedom. All they want is to be accepted. They've gone unaccepted so long, they went to unfair and violent reasons. We call the violence, and as you can tell, you are no longer under their sword.
A lot of people nearby are going to get very upset and begin shouting. Are you insane? Those monsters come from the underground and kill our people. Drag them down into those holes and do who knows what to them. We never get them back.
Have these people done that?
They were taken as recompense. The leaders of Bromdor don't tolerate that. They're the example that keeps it from happening anymore.
So you're okay with enslaving sorry. If they're such horrible creatures, why would you keep them around? If they're so bad and you can't accept them, then why could you have them around as slaves?
An example. And lots of people get behind that, cheering, yeah, an example.
That's not how it works. The only example that shows is that you are as evil as they are.
Win the crowd over, Lydia.
It says,
What I was talking about.
it shows that we're not going to put up with their violence. That we're not going to be cowed by them.
By showing the same type of violence?
They think they're immune to it because we won't use it.
No.
Emboldened
they
by
think
our
they
fear.
had to do it because they cannot, talk with you, cannot be with you without being attacked. If you keep judging them by their appearance, they're always going to feel threatened.
There's a lot of dissent in the crowd nearby as you speak, and a lot of the words that carry over that you keep hearing is, how old are you anyway? Do you have any idea how long this war's been going on? This isn't a they're more scared of us than we are of them thing. They want to destroy our way of life.
And you are destroying theirs. All I want to be is be understanding of others. I see different people here. There are elves, there are humans, there are dwarves. You are all different, yet you're the same. The Drow look different, and they live in a different place, because they've been forced to do so thousands of years ago by an unjust god.
One who still controls their actions today.
But it doesn't have it to. This can all change. Right now, one of theirs that we talked to agreed with us that Drow can change. He agreed that if given the right time and given the right circumstances, they can be less violent and learn to live in our society on the surface without needing Loth to survive, leaving their waste behind.
And it's not even just that, it's the fact that this Drow also feels friendship toward the person that he was holding. He didn't want to do what he was doing, and he did stay his blade. It's just when under so much persecution and pushing them to the edge, they felt that was their only way, and no one has shown them another or given them a chance of another way.
Bullshit. Drow don't have friends.
Can I just ask a quick question? Out of character.
Yeah.
Is this shaded area, this is people, is it?
Yeah, you are surrounded.
I was just, no, it's, I don't know if you saw, my internet crapped out for about a minute. So I missed a lot of this.
Yeah, so the red shaded area around you is people. You guys are now an island in a sea of people.
Okay. What am I going to do? I'm going. Can I push in front of Laramendis?
Push?
I want to get to. Let's see, there are more people over by Leah's side.
Yeah, the crowd kind of goes up that way. It was like all over here, and then it sort of like morphed over and gathered around you so they could hear what was going on better.
I'm going to push forward and
North, south, east,
ask Leah
west.
to move. Like swap places with Leah, sort of. Like maybe if she moves one to the right and I move into where she is.
I mean, you can go to here and then ask if she wants to trade places.
Yeah.
You may roleplay that.
What for?
I don't think you've got them.
Give me time, I can make it.
I'm going to take another step forward, north.
Okay.
I'm going to ask Claire if she knows. Claire,
Yes?
how many Drow are in the city?
Couple hundred? Most of them work the docks. People of the city don't see them too often because of that, but some more well-to-do families had their own.
Small army.
Yes, that's why they were able to hold the city. That's why these people were in danger. Until their demands were met.
Of the thousands in the city, how many of them are actually, would be capable of fighting, do you think?
Almost all of the Drow were formerly warriors who were taken in counter...
No, the thousands.
Of people, you mean?
Human people.
Not many. All of the able-bodied warriors were put into the army, and then the less able-bodied warriors were city guards. The city guards were sent off to join the armies across the borders. These are women, children, elderly, husbands who've never done anything but mill grain in their life, or ply
I'm
trade.
going to just scan the crowd just to see what the makeup of the crowd is.
It is, as she says, it's a lot of women, children, elderly. The men in the crowd, for the most part, don't look particularly beefy or strapping. A lot of them are dressed, a lot of the ones closest to you are dressed well. The men are probably like merchants or shop owners, given the amount of silver, like belt buckles and things that they wear. The women have nearby have finery, like they may own their own shops and work in the same capacity, or are some sort of business relation, as none of the people here look like labor force, not right in front of you anyway. Further back, you do see the people who seem to work with their hands, people who perhaps live out closer to the wall and maybe work farms outside the city.
I probably don't see them because I'm like 3 feet tall.
True. So the people right
You see
in front
their
of you.
knees. They look like the knees of somebody who works in a farm.
Yes, yes. But mostly close to you are going to be the social elite who have pushed themselves to the front of the group, who believe themselves more worthy to hear what's going on, especially that it involves the politics of the city.
Okay, I'm going to ask Claire to swap places with me. He's like, Claire, come over here. Over here.
All right. I don't understand why. You're now there.
I'm going to turn and look at the crowd. And
Okay.
go, hello.
And the people around this part of the crowd who are all, like, mostly staring at Leah, a lot of them glaring and yelling and spitting. A couple of the closest ones nearby kind of like, huh? And they look down and notice you. Because you're, what, 3 foot nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely the ones further back don't hear. Are you saying this conversationally, or are you kind of, like, shouting it to get attention?
Initially, it's not terribly loud.
Okay, so yeah, just the closest people to you are going to, like, suddenly let their eyes drop from Leah to you, and they'll look rather incredulous. Like, what's this now?
Are people at the back still making noise?
Yeah, the crowd's still very loud. Only the closest people to you have noticed anything's going on.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me see. I am going to... Well, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cast Enhance Ability on myself.
Okay.
Now I have advantage on Charisma checks.
What requirements does that have? Components?
Everything.
Everything. Okay, so you draw attention to yourself. Some people are very confused, and then you wave your staff about, say some magic words, and lights dance on your palms as you cast this enhance ability on yourself. There's just this sparkling light of green and blue flashes around you as you perform the magic, and a lot of people like suddenly get back and say, "Magic! Magic!"
Jibble, what the hell are you doing?
Hello! My name is Jebel.
A lot of people are staring and listening now.
You've got a bit of a problem. You see, I think something that nobody has really mentioned yet is the Drow are already here. They're already in the city. You already brought them inside your walls. Would you agree with that?
There's
I like point to one person in particular, like just
like all the people around are like looking at each other, like not sure exactly what's going on. The person that you point at, like, she puts her hand on her chest and then quickly looks to the people around her, and all of them are just like, "Don't look at me."
I'm not. It's not a rhetorical question, I'm afraid.
Yes.
Yeah, they're here now.
Over there. Why haven't you destroyed them?
Seven of us. Plus, I don't know, maybe a couple more. I don't know, it gets confusing, the number of us. Anywho, there's a small army of them. And yeah, you have them outnumbered, but How many of you would be willing to actually go toe-to-toe with any of them? You? And I point to someone else.
I ain't no fighter.
Yeah, they are.
Jibble, now we're making them more afraid.
No, fear is sensible. Fear is survival.
So what you're saying is, you're all fighters, so you're gonna fight them for us.
What I'm saying is, why not rehabilitate them?
I hate motorcycles. I hate them.
Yeah, the Drow have been raiding and slaving and slaughtering and killing for generations. But the one I talked to didn't want to kill a child. How many of you have ever heard of a Drow?
One.
Yeah, but that's how it all starts.
That one good one is now currently trying to make more good ones over there as we speak.
And it starts with one.
You know what else starts with one? Them slaughtering this whole city.
That's what we're trying to prevent.
Really? Because I look around here, he kind of like puffs himself up and he stands up like on his tiptoes and looks over the head of the crowd. There's a whole lot of Drow bodies that you laid out. A whole lot of reasons for them to take it out on us. Now you're sitting here telling us we can't defend ourselves against them, and you're not going to defend us against them?
Alright. Go! And I point over to where the Drow are.
No, Jibble.
I just have a question.
What's your question?
You can see it.
And he looks over at the through the rain at the small shadow of Drow. Says, "If these cowards aren't going to defend us, then we have to defend ourselves. Come on!"
Hey, but I have a question.
No.
Well,
Everyone.
has anyone died?
Your question's going to get lost as he's whipping the crowd into a
Okay.
frenzy.
As he tries to do that, I'd like to cast Shatter into the air, try and get their attention.
Okay. Spend the spell slot.
We all do.
A thunderous explosion happens over the head of the crowd, and you actually see as the rain is falling that the raindrops in one area fly out in all directions, and for a moment there's no rain falling in this one spot before rain starts falling once more. Everybody in the crowd grabs their ears and shrieks in terror, crouching down low, covering their children.
I will say this loudly, clearly, and calmly. Stand down. We have taken it upon ourselves to try and make these Drow into better people. They will not harm you, and you will not harm them. That is our oath. Anyone who has a problem with that, step forward. Now.
Fucking Drow sympathizers, what they are.
I'm a follower of Corella. I am certainly no sympathizer.
You're a liar.
But if they are going to give up their ways of loath, they deserve a chance. And it is the deal we made to save your lives. And so we are going to honor that.
Is there...
Stand down. Now.
Thank you, Cyrus.
Many in the crowd are glaring at you, but no one is making a move.
Already an outcast most places. Why not add one more to the list?
I have a question for the crowd. Has there... I don't have much knowledge of this. Has there been any reported deaths of citizens that someone could share with us?
A woman nearby you, Yukikaze, will say, we haven't heard anything, but it's been chaos the last couple of days. We've been sequestered in our homes. Anything could have happened. We haven't been able to check in on most of our friends, or family, or anyone.
You have no proof that they have slaughtered or killed anyone in the city, and if they were so evil, why not just start slaughtering everyone? It shows partially to their intentions of what's going on here. Because they didn't necessarily want to kill.
He told us their plans for if we were defeated. That was to let you out of the city alive. No one would be killed. That was their plan. Now we changed that. Instead, we want
they're gonna kill us because
No.
you didn't
No.
let them set us free?
that you are free. But they want to be free too. We want you to live together as a community. Not be against each other. If they can agree to that, why can't you? Don't you... Are you going to let yourself be worse than the Drow?
The outspoken man from before spits on the ground, says, not worse, just not dead.
Can't you hear me? They don't want to kill you.
Says you! And your friend with the magic over there. He spits on the ground.
Hi.
again. Well, the louder magic.
I was myself... I can relate to the Drow. I am from a place where only humans exist. And I was treated the same way you treat them now. As scum, as nothing. Ever since I was born, I've been cast away as a nobody. Forced to live by the ways they expected me to live and not by the ways I wanted to. I was chased out of that town eventually, and I now found my own home. I found my own place. I chose my own path. I believe they can do the same, given the choice.
What makes you think they can be trusted like that?
Because they just let you loose for us talking to one person.
I'll say one thing loudly since I'm closer to hear this. And I can back up their claims of wanting peace. I was able to read their minds and know what they said is true. There's nothing they could have hidden from me.
And what do you get out of this deal?
Nothing.
Bull.
This is not for us, this is for you.
Double bull. Then why aren't you listening to us? We don't want this.
So you're speaking for everyone here?
He, casts a disparaging look at you and then raises his hands out to the sides, and other people around him sort of nod and say, we don't trust them. They just threatened our lives.
And how often have you threatened theirs?
They look very confused.
If one of them didn't immediately do as you told them to as slave, what did you do to them?
Reported them to one of the guards.
Which in turn would threaten their lives.
Maybe. Not my problem. They're city property.
See, that is the problem. That you consider people property. That you consider people with their own emotions.
They're not people. They're Drow.
They are as people as you and I. They just look different.
These guys have taken too many hits to the head raiding goblin nests.
Would you say that to citizens of an enemy country and do the same thing to people of the same race as you?
Threaten my family and my way of life? Wouldn't you? Isn't that what you do, adventurer?
And now, isn't that what they're doing, too? Protecting themselves?
How many times have you raided the Underdark, adventurer?
Actually, not.
How many times do you think I have?
I couldn't say because I don't know you.
None. I
How
don't go
many-
after them. They come after us.
But your warriors come after them.
Wait.
You are those staying behind. They have people staying behind too. Those you see are the attackers, not the defenders.
You know what their spider god wants them to do?
Take over the world. But their spider god isn't their only option. If they're willing to let go of that god and follow their own path, they can be as normal as you and I. We have bad gods too.
And all of you don't worship the same god, right?
I have witnessed men turn into necromancy. And a desperate woman filled with grief become a lich and rule the desert for 500 years.
She was human.
She was human.
But
Drow
before the
are
lich
not.
part.
Human can be as evil as any of the Drow you see. It's up to the
Anyone can be
individual.
evil.
Yes, it's up to the individual and not to the people as a whole.
Would it be better to put it as all living beings are never born evil, but are capable of both good and evil?
Yes.
You think there are Drow that ain't born evil?
I do. I know a few.
Yeah,
The
they're
one
not
we talked to
born
today
evil.
was
It's
one of them.
their culture. It's their society.
And what are you gonna do about that? When they come after us again, only this time we don't have our defenders. We don't even have a leader.
Maybe the Drow that are here that become part of your community help defend it because this is now their home.
Fairness, they can't go home.
What?
They can't go back.
Or they'll be killed.
Any Drow that attack you now will target them as well anyway. They're
Why?
pariahs. Because they were captured. Listen, you and I, we all know what the Drow are like, what their culture is like. I said before, yeah? They enslave. What do you
Even-
think happens to a Drow who has been enslaved?
war hero?
No, no. They will be killed immediately if another Drow were to find them. You are their only hope of survival.
They're a failure in the eyes of their god.
What proof do you have?
What you know of their god. And then I point to your man who was asking about. He said that, didn't he? He said that. What do you know about their god?
Yeah.
Then I point to him and I was.
That she teaches them to make each other worse. Our soldiers came back and told us what it was like down there. Vile.
Oh. So then his soldiers has been down there. Raiding, huh? Enslaving. That is no different than what
We
they
told
did.
you that. It was a counter-raid. That's how those Drow wound up here. Whenever the Drow raided a city in Bromdor, Bromdor retaliated. Counter-raided. It's why they stopped raiding us. That's what they're an example of. That's why we were safe. Till now.
Your leaders sent all your defense away,
There's wars.
leaving you without anything. If we leave this town now, you don't have any defenses. Yet they can fight. If they're on your side, they can be defenses towards any other.
They were
intruders.
until today, sorta.
No, they were not
Yeah,
on your
sort
side.
of.
They were just slaves. That I don't think any of them were set up for combat. Because they can't be trusted with weapons.
You know, that makes me think. How'd Sivan end up dead? He was the one who ordered all these Drow to be the city guards in the absence of the soldiers. Then all of
No.
a sudden they turned on us when you showed up.
Sivan was dead long before we came here.
Really?
He was under control by another.
Uh,
That other forced the Drow to retaliate and sent away the guards.
you can't expect us to believe that. Somebody came in
No.
here and took control of Lord Sivan. For how long? Weeks? Months?
I'm no doctor, I couldn't tell. But what I saw in there was a puppet. And not the man he was.
He's still in there.
But if I were you, I would not go there.
Y'all have magic, why didn't you, do your magic on him?
Doesn't work that way.
Not with someone that's been dead that long.
Raiken, Lair, Vendar, you guys have been pretty quiet.
Again, this isn't Raiken's expertise.
Alright, then tell me what Raiken is doing.
Glaring.
I mean, he's next to Leah, making sure nobody tries to make a move on her.
So you're...
He's not like he doesn't have any weapons out or anything, but he's basically using his presence as a deterrent.
Okay, I mean, so just... Let's determine how good that is. Roll me intimidation using either charisma or strength.
Standing behind Leah with a stern look on his face.
And he's kind of kitty-cornered over there.
I'm gonna use my inspiration.
Yeah.
That's better. What did you say I could use?
You could use charisma or strength.
Okay. Then that's a 16.
Okay. You have puffed yourself up and are just big dogging anybody who tries to close the distance there. Now and then, you know, people seem agitated and like they want to make Leah stop talking. You just sort of, you know, take a step toward them and glare down from your 7-foot height. With your shining armor on.
Yep. Still on.
What are you doing at this time?
I'm mostly keeping an eye on things. I'm not preparing to cast Wall of Force, should the need arise, because that would require me casting the spell. But I am extremely close to preparing that.
You are ready to cast it should the need arise, just not on a hair trigger. It's not already cast.
Yeah.
Okay, I can tell you that Nalia has remained in winter this entire time, and she honestly just seems to be folding into herself. She is not participating. She barely seems to be paying attention.
It's understandable. I am also keeping a fairly close eye on the crowd near her. Like, more so than the rest of the crowd.
Her cloak is protecting her as best it can, but it's very wet out here, so you can see that, like, the edges of her dress are wet with the rainwater. It is, even with the presence of the cloak, still clear that she's wearing the colors of the guild, so people around should be aware that she's at least a guildsman.
Yep.
Vendar, what is your declared state of existing during all of this, as your friends are arguing as best they can in defense of the Drow? Are you trying to look intimidating? Do you have something, perhaps, that Vendar would want to contribute to what's being said? Are you going to threaten people with your bow? You have a lot of options for actions, or you could say something.
I might say something.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is an open forum thing, so people don't have to be scared about, you know, jumping in and trying to say something. But I will give you the floor now if you have something that you know you want to say.
So yes, this is a difficult situation. I understand that you are all scared, because the Drow have always been a terrifying, looming force, an evil force against you, but the actual Drow, the people themselves, are capable of good just as we are capable of evil. And the only way things will ever change is if we all give them a chance to change.
Well said.
They're willing to take the step, so we must be too.
Some people nearby in the crowd just gonna shout, "Well, who the hell are you to tell us what to do anyway? Who are you people?"
We are the Order of the Sacred Flame.
You see a lot of heads turn when you say that.
Yeah, now the voice will change. The guides to guide you to a better path. Tristan,
Yeah.
I've said a lot here. Would I be? Could I roll a persuasion to back that up?
I normally allow roleplay to stand for itself, only requiring a roll if the arguments are not good enough or if the person isn't feeling like they can formulate a good argument. And I will say that everybody's been doing really well. This crowd is, as any crowd of people who have been doing things one way for a long time, resistant. You may roll it, and if it's a decent roll, it will certainly empower your persuasion here, but I don't think anybody's been doing particularly poorly at making arguments in this, if that's what you're worried about.
Okay. Now I'm more worried about my... because my... since English is not my native tongue, I can tend to stutter and be unsure how to formulate myself.
I never count that against you. I know what you mean most of the time, and if I don't, I ask you.
I would just want the persuasion to kind of depict how Leah actually sounds.
Okay. You may roll it.
Oh, that was on that 20, so that's 25.
Yeah, she's very articulate. She's like, you know, you present you are your character. Your character is you. So while she is a young child and doesn't always have the words for what she wants to say, the power of your emotion is coming through in your words, and you do see, you know, even the people who were agreeing with the agitator are like less and less forceful with each bout of debate here.
Okay.
At Vendar's remark of, you know, we're the Order of the Sacred Flame, a lot of the nearby heads in the crowd kind of turned, and people started whispering back and forth. You kind of get the general sense, you know, you're hearing things like, who, the Order of the Sacred Flame? Aren't they the people who were fighting the zombies? Oh, you mean those people who had a fight with Lord Sivan a month ago? So there's a lot of mixed feeling going on as people are trying to figure out what that name means to them. One of the people nearby to you, Vendar, kind of looks you up and down, and you can see they're kind of like moving so that they can see around your tricorn. You say, if you're the Order, then you're that Asparan boy, the Drakner, aren't you?
I give Vandar a worried look. Pass. Där med det.
Why would somebody from such a prominent family side with such loathsome creatures?
We're just trying to make the world a better place. But we don't do that by spreading hate and violence. The only way we're going to make this world a better place is if we work together to make it a better place. All of us, Drow, humans, elves, dwarves, everyone.
But what battle do we fight to make it better?
Right now it's the battle of... For you here, it's the battle of the racism. You need to put aside the differences you've held, the hate that both you and the Drow, the hate and the what's the
Ramdoran? Volinar?
No, I'm
sorry.
It's a word I'm trying to think of that I just can't think of.
I'm sorry. I was trying to help.
Prejudice?
Animosity, that's it. Set aside the violence and animosity that you've always held for each other. in order to move forward and have peaceful times. I
Out of
forget where I
character?
was going.
Out of character.
Very well said.
You're going to be here to make sure that they hold their end?
We will find someone who will lead you and end them together.
But until
We have
then,
other-
yes, we will be here to
and-
defend you from them and them from you.
You're beginning to hear the name, the Order of Sacred Flame, spread through the crowd farther and farther, repeated more and more. And in the din of conversation that is what these hundreds of people, these maybe 100 people rather, are discussing among themselves as they spread further back in the crowd, you notice that people start moving within the crowd. And after a short while of this, conversation, this general crowd muttering, you're going to notice that a divide begins to form. The people who are still standing around the agitator from before and very clearly stand in disagreement with those that are now moving away from them, who seem to be taking up this idea that the Order will protect them during this time of transition. Before long, you begin to notice that a lot of the arguments and the jeers aren't being sent at you anymore, but among the people around you. That the people to the south are saying things to the tune of, well, if they're here to make sure and help us, then maybe we should give this a shot. And the people to the north shouting, well, you're all morons who are going to get killed.
This is starting to look eerily familiar.
Yeah. Human nature's human nature.
Yeah. It's like, in real life, humans have found themselves in this particular situations over and over again for the last, I don't know, 4,000 years.
10.
Yeah, but if you go that far back, it's more like within the same tribe or something.
Mm-hmm. So, this is a situation you find yourself faced with that, at this time you are not the target of ire. That the crowd is beginning to fight itself.
Just want to say that my palms are sweating so much that it started to wrinkle.
And as the arguments and the name-calling and the jeering and agitating rises the level of the din to combat the thunder around you, a voice is going to boom out from among you, You're going to see everybody kind of steps back, shocked, as this very sudden, unexpected noise overpowers them. As Nalia suddenly throws her fists down to her sides and says, "Everyone shut up! Sivan is dead! And we need to see this town through the next few days. It's not going to be easy. And you're not going to be happy. But you're going to be alive. These people are going to see to that. And if you try to start anything, know that I have the full power of the Mages Guild behind me. Claire's in charge. You have a problem with that? Kiss my ass.
Dang. Laying down the law. Quite literally at this point.
What do I roll to see if I jump at that sound?
Constitution?
That's a 10.
Yeah, it surprises you.
Yeah, I kind of look shocked towards Nalia, but by the end of it, I kind of brewing up a smile.
She's not smiling.
No, but I am.
Her eyes are hidden by the hood of her cloak as she stands there. All you can see are her bared and gritted teeth and the raven hair that frames her face, disappearing up into the hood.
What cloak is she wearing? Is she wearing a mage cloak, or is she wearing the one I gave her?
She's wearing the one you gave her.
Oh, good.
It seems to have been lengthened. Because I do believe that was your cloak, was it not?
Yeah, the one during, like when she was practically naked after the dragon fight, I gave her a cloak.
Yes,
that
I recall.
Yeah, that was the. I'm trying to remember the story now. When she got that cloak, I think it was after. It was after she was chased away. She didn't have that in Watchtower Point, but I think she got it by either by a couple of elves or by Volinar.
Okay.
I cannot remember when, but it was very early on.
You recognize the
before.
color and the patterning of it, and it does look like it's been lengthened to fit her frame.
Hmm.
Apparently that meant something to her.
Yeah, it's good to know.
After this outburst, a lot of people seem very leery of speaking up. And Claire looks around the crowd and then puts a hand over her head to draw attention to herself and says, "You can lodge your complaints and any discussion we need to have with me in Lightstone Keep. But I will not tolerate any violence against the Drow, and our agreement with them ensures that we will not tolerate any violence by them against you." anyone who is found to commit any act of violence or try to instigate any acts of violence from them will be punished to the full extent of Volinar's laws. In the meantime, I will be working to try and find a proper replacement for Lord Urkensiven. For the time being, I hope that you all will return to your homes. You are safe. As long as my friends here deem you not to be part of the problem. Some of the people from the group to the north seem placated. A couple even moving into the group to the south.
What does that mean, that word?
Placated? Like they...
Satisfied, calm down.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I haven't heard it before, so I had to ask.
No, that's fine. Some of them seem angry. You notice that a tight group is forming around the boisterous man from before. The group to the south begins to press in around you to ask in various voices, you know, what's next? How can we help? Where should we go? Excuse me. What's the plan? Oh, thank you.
I'd like to try and step away if possible.
Where would you like to go?
Just a little bit away to where I could try and summon Uriel back without any alarm.
Sure.
Because I would like my familiar to try and keep an eye on the problem child. The instigator, whatever you want to call him, the guy that kept being the voice of the crowd for the most part.
Chad.
Sure.
Chad. Sure, you move off into the rain until you feel like you could discreetly do your hand gestures without drawing too much attention.
Times use magic to draw attention, and times to use magic to avoid attention. And this is one of those times.
At the encouragement of Claire, the crowd is going to begin to disperse. Little by little, people are going to, gather their loved ones and trudge back through the rain to wherever their home within the city is. Both the people who agree with what you're doing and the ones who do not. There are those that linger in both groups, of course, but definitely the dissenting group is the first to fully remove themselves from your presence. you get the sense that a lot of the people in the dissenting group are still very much refusing to believe that it's possible to work with the Drow without bloodshed at all. You also get a very strong sense that this distrust of the Drow extends to you because you are sympathizing with the Drow. But you also get the sense that nobody wants to fuck with mages.
That does help. Nothing's overcoming at night. Certainly not this.
But your, familiar materializes, Cyrus.
Cool.
What form does it take? I've forgotten.
A dove.
Right. A dove. You instruct it to keep an eye on Chad, and it flies off into the sky in the direction that he went.
Cool.
As the dregs of the crowd finish disappearing, and just a few people remain. Nalia is going to lean onto Lair's shoulder, and Lair, she says to you, I need to go back to the men's.
That seems entirely reasonable.
I don't have the energy for any more of this. Will you walk me there?
Of course.
She will lead you past Claire, to whom she'll hold out a hand. Claire will take her hand, and she says to her, good luck with this one. To which Claire responds, my lady, I was assigned by the Mages Guild to assist you in any way I could. I am assisting you in this. She smiles, but Nalia does not return it. She leads you away to the man's.
Which is that direction? I was for the longest time thinking it was the other direction.
Yeah, down this road, and on down to here.
Yeah, over there with the pile of bodies.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks like they have some cleanup to do.
That is my intended course of action.
Do we we should call that Viscanza cleanup company.
The group of Drow is going to move carefully down the street, avoiding the corpses that you left, and form up in front of your group. And Claire stands at the head. The people from the group that have accepted your help watch as the Drow come, and they seem interested in what's going to happen. They seem a bit scared, but they seem to be containing it.
I want to walk up and see if I can meet with Seth. Oh well, he's walking up to me, it looks like. What are these staffed ones?
They're not Drow.
Then what are they?
They look like gnomes. Kind of.
Huh. Oh. Ew.
Nice. They form up around you. They seem to understand from her posture that Claire is the one taking the lead on this. Zeph approaches her directly. And he says, "Have you talked to your people about what you wish to do?" Claire nods at him and says, "We have begun the discussion. There are several people in this first group who are willing to see this through and try it. We have indicated that violence against your people will not be tolerated. We're going to do our best to police that, but it's a large city. I recommend you keep your people close to us until we feel we've got more of a quorum." And Zeph seems to consider these words and nod and say, "If quorum means agreement, then Zeph agrees. I have spoken with my people. Many of them think that we should still just kill yours and take the city. I have told them that this is not a good idea. These men with me all wholeheartedly believe that we can make our arrangement work out for the benefit of all of us. But we have a demand, and that is going to be passed to all of you." He points past Claire toward Jebel, toward Leah, toward the rest of you. "We need you to collect all of the men you killed. We need you to arrange a burial service in your Temple of the Raven Queen's Lich Yard. And we need you to do all of this in sight of the people of this town. They must know that my people, even in death, are going to be treated with respect."
I agree to this.
I agree.
If there are any of the city folk that would want to help with this or can be convinced to help with this, it would also help to spread the message that we are in this together. But we feel that it is important for them to see you and us at least working elbow to elbow to put my people to rest. My people will not trust that you mean what you have said until this at least is done. considering that it was you that made so many of these corpses, all of them. I think that my people have been very understanding. And Claire's going to cast to her left and right. You can tell she's looking at the bodies that are laying in the rain, their blood washing over the cobbles and into the grass by the side of the road. She says, I agree, Zeph. I think that if we're going to do this, that is definitely the least that we can do. These people want to be the voice of change. I suggest that you do as Zeph has asked. Is there anything else that your people need in order to fully agree to this? And Zeph rubs his chin for a moment with one dark-skinned hand and says, there are some dissenters among my ranks. It might be useful if some of your voices of change would assist me in speaking with them. Perhaps they can still come around. However, I have made a concession to some of them. I have told them that if they listen to what you say, for those that need it translated by me, and they still do not see this working out, they can take the other option and try their luck back in the Underdark. So I need them to promise that those that will not be convinced can leave and find their fate underground.
I assume I've joined back with the group.
Yeah.
I'll
There
say,
you are.
as long as they leave peacefully, no harm will come to them. You have my word.
And he says something in Undercommon, and the people around him nod. And then finally he points past Claire again, and he says, these two here, they are not Drow. They are of the Darrow. Not brothers or sisters to the Drow, but also denizens of the Underdark. They are not beholden to Loth, but they would like to give this a try. They could return to the Underdark, but they want to stay here. I have explained to them the requirements of that agreement. They were amenable. So, are you?
I see no difference.
Yeah, I see no problem with it. In fact, they'll probably have an easier time integrating than you will.
We shall see. The underground races have a particular look about them that makes them easy to spot and difficult to trust. I have noticed from my years working the docks.
But we'll do what we can to change that.
Well then, come with me to speak to the others. Then we can get started on these men. must be laid to rest. Miss Claire, where can my people stay? We do not wish to return to the slave bunks. And it is raining. Claire looks about at them and says, well, I need to see to the operation of the castle here. I'm certain that there are more than enough places within to place all of you, if you would care to stay in the castle with me. I will extend that much trust to you if you will extend it to me. And you see his mouth opens in a grin. He says, you want us to live in the castle? I never thought I'd see the day. Well, far be it from us to refuse such a generous offer. Please. He reaches behind him and to the left and pulls one of the Drow soldiers forward. And says, this man is called Filson. He can speak more common than the rest. You can talk to him to tell them where you need them to go. My new friends and I have more talking to do. And he will remove himself from the group. And Filson will move forward. You have a name now.
And if they happen to run out of room, I can make temporary housing. At least something to keep the rain up.
Filson looks past to you. He says, we'll try our luck in the palace, and if there's not enough room, then we'll ask you. Claire straightens up and says, all right then. Please follow me, gentlemen. Filson barks something out in Undercommon, and they all begin to move away.
That language always sounds so angry.
From this group of onlookers back here, you hear, wow, I've never seen Drow act so peacefully. You've never seen a Drow in your life. I saw the ones in the dock. They were never happy. Never thought we'd be able to just talk to them. Are you trying to say that you didn't trust these people when they said that we'd be able to do that?
Do the Darrow go as well, or do they stay behind?
They seem to sniff around Jebel for a couple extra seconds before joining the rest of the group.
This one is different. Yeah, how... have you ever seen someone like that before, Jabal?
I'm going to say no.
I mean, before I met you, I didn't know gnomes existed. Now I'm being taught that there exists Drow version of gnomes as well. It's fun how many creatures exist in this world.
Have you ever been to the Underdark, young lady?
Can't say I have.
There is a plethora, it's a good word I learned, of life down there that you would never see on the surface. Plants and animals. If you have a chance to go, you should take note.
There's plants there?
Many species of fungus and other kinds of reaching vines, and something that is similar to your trees, but not the same.
That's curious.
We
That
have
sounded
flowers too.
That sounded that it sounds prettier than the desert.
On that point, you're probably right.
I have not been to the desert. I have only known the Underdark in this area and this city.
I wouldn't suggest visiting. The sun there is harsh for most. I expect it would be significantly worse for you.
Imagine the beach without water.
Sometimes I wonder exactly what it is Thoth thinks that we would gain by conquering this surface world. Going to deal with Sam. Sam!
Yes.
Nalia pulls you through the streets, the rain falling, creating a din that very quickly blocks out everything that's going on behind you. You can feel that her step is unsteady, and that now and again the hand holding your arm shudders. You get back to her manse and find that as you had left it, the door is kicked in off its hinge. There is a good deal of fallen water spilling over the threshold and soaking into one of the nearby rugs. And as she pulls you inside, she waves a hand and several candles light around the room before she locates a comfortable armchair in the corner of the first floor room. This is the map grid. Here is the downstairs, so let me just don't necessarily want to lose it, but it also doesn't really help me right now. Oh, I won't lose it. I know what to do. Go to the background layer. Not erase. But we can. Well, that would have been nice. Good enough.
It's gonna be fun to clean up the gooey ones.
What?
Magic is for.
Oh, I think I nailed the color too. For the time being, just so they're not a distraction. Get these over here.
Just huck them into the river.
For the moment, they're in the basement. Hang on a second. I knew it. It switched back to the token layer on me and I didn't realize it. was like, why is the grid not showing? Where's my grid? There we go. Sorry. Just need a moment here. So, I'm trying to make a point of using red as furniture. And then we'll just use a little bit of imagination, but effectively, she's in a nice comfy armchair surrounded by bookshelves. There's a large round table here, a longer table perhaps for reading here, and these are more bookshelves. That is the door. And that's a plant.
Cool.
So she's going to move into the room and sink into this chair. And she's going to bring her hands together before trying to just steeple her fingers and center herself. Says, do you really think this is the right move there?
I believe so, yes. I had mentioned before that there was something that I felt might help in me telling you. When we had been going to deal with the necromancer, I had received a dream, which was an extremely odd state, I must say. I'm not sure how most people deal with that every night. Very uncomfortable. But it seemed to be from Corellin.
She does respond to your attempt at levity.
He was pushing me to do what I could to make sure that Rowan, who had been with us at the time, stayed good, that he made choices that would keep him away from Lolth's path. If one drow is capable of such a choice, then I imagine that the others must be as well. Many of the drow here have probably spent more time in Bromdor than they had in the Underdark itself. Actually, to the voice in the sky,
yep.
I would imagine that it tends to be the younger men who end up going on the raids to the surface?
Several, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like an all-men kind of thing.
Okay. It's probably the younger men that end up caught, though, because they're dumb.
But you also know that these were men that were specifically captured in the Underdark when the city counter-raided.
Okay, I thought that it was a combination of counter-raiding and
some of them
prisoners from raids, like initial.
Some of them would have come from just being captured during a raid, but honestly, for the most part, the counter raids are retaliatory. So a lot of times the cities in Bromdor would be, towns in Bromdor would be attacked, and it happens in the middle of the night. The Drow specifically target places that are less guarded, so they don't tend to lose people on raids, because they pick their targets pretty well. But Bromdor, as you know, wanted to make a statement that it wasn't gonna fly here. You know, maybe other countries hope, you know, beef up the guard in their small towns and hope that's enough, and just accept Drow raids as a part of daily life. But Bromdor specifically said, no. If you want to raid us, you're gonna get raided. You want to take people from our place, we're gonna take people from you. And then they press them into labor service as a, you know, if any of those Drow do poke their head up around here, they're gonna see what happens.
Okay, so the exact
them,
wording of my point might be slightly different, but
yeah.
Still along the lines of spending years here, especially their more recent years, kind of general point there.
Yeah, they might have been longer in the Underdark than here, especially because, you know, Drow are still elves, they're very long-lived.
Yeah.
But, at least Zeph has said that he's spent years laboring here, and it has given him a chance to have thoughts other than revenge and conquest.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I had another specific point related to the dream after their time. I don't think I did.
Do you think this would be happening if you'd managed to keep him on Corellan's path?
I cannot say. I would certainly hope that it wouldn't, but I believe that Lolth might have just used a different pawn. She has many. If causing the chaos in this region benefited her, and if she's working with those who seek to raise the dragons, then it would. I think that it is at least likely that something similar would have happened.
I'm a little confused, Lair. Why did you find yourself unable to comply with Corellan's will? I've never known you to fail at anything you wanted to do.
I did what I could to try and at least change things external to him, although I was never particularly good at reading him, so I wasn't sure what was going on exactly in his mind. But he left us to go to the Assassin's Guild and lead them, thinking that he would be able to do good in reforming it. I don't know what happened in the interim that led him into the Underdark and into Lolth's power, and I would be most interested in discovering that. Although, as it stands, I'm not sure that I could. I trail off a bit, so just like think about things. Legend lore. As a champion of Lolth, would he have a chance, like a decent chance, of being important enough for the spell?
It's possible. Seems like an important title.
It's possible. So now to her, it's possible that legend lore might provide a point of reference at the very least to go on. And then there are other divination spells that might be beneficial. What was the name of the one that I just learned? The wizard one that's like divination but shittier and you can die.
Good description. Don't remember what that is.
Contact other plane.
Crappier and you can die.
I mean,
I like
it's difficult to die because you just will hit 0 hit points and be insane for a day. So yeah, you just go crazy enough and knocking yourself out, and then you're fine tomorrow. So like, it would be hard to die, but contact other plane might also be able to provide useful information. And if I could find someone here
She's going
where I
to
could copy
reach out and
divination.
place her right hand on your cheek. Say, you're always so willing to go to such extremes to find information or understand a thing when it seems important. The only time you ever fail to do a thing is when you've deemed it unimportant, not worth your pursuit. Why was this boy not worth your pursuit? Why am I not worth your pursuit?
He's gonna seem like pensive at first for the first bit, and then he's gonna seem a bit surprised at the second question.
It's been so many years. I figured by now you'd be willing to recognize me. With everything that's going on, I saw this opportunity to work together as partners on this.
I feel like what we've been able to accomplish together has been much more than what we would have been able to do separately, especially in recent times.
But
You had always been so busy before with the quite important work here in the city with the guild.
could have helped me with it.
I had never been much for the politics of the guild and dealing with people in the city.
You could have been here for me. I don't understand exactly what I am to you. Former student? Colleague? Friend? Something else? There's so much going on right now, and it's the dragons and what we witnessed in Tuka, and now this here. There's just every chance to die. But you've never given us a chance to succeed. And now I'm hearing that a god told you that you should do a thing to prevent war, and you didn't. What's going on? 'Cause I thought I was the one having trouble dealing with everything. You always had everything certain. You knew you wanted to live in that smelly fishing village. You did what you wanted, and you did your magical research. You wrote your theses.
You always seemed so sure of yourself to me. You had these grand goals. You were going to be, and you will be, the first in however many millennia that could make anything that would rival the gods. I merely hid away in a small village listening to people tell stories.
Did you ever want to make stories?
Before? No. Quite frankly. The past provides so much that we can't know. So there's always something more to dig into. I have more recently seen that being around to at least witness their inception is quite interesting, and I hope will be quite valuable. I feel like there is much good that I can help to contribute, but it is not something that I had wanted to set out to do.
She's going to take one of your hands in hers and she'll say, Claire is pushing me to try and lead this city. You know that's a job I've never wanted. But you saw that crowd out there. We need help. This isn't something one leader can do. This requires many minds, many voices. You're trying to change millennia-old prejudices here. There were people in those crowd who were listening. But there are hundreds more who will fight, who will riot, who will attack these Drow and start this war up anew. I don't have the energy to deal with that right now. And maybe I'm selfish, and I'm certainly prejudiced myself. You know as well as anyone the history our people have had with theirs. That's working with them is not something I'm ready to do yet. I need time with this. I need something else to focus on for at least a couple of days, so that I can let the back half of my brain deal with this, so that I'm more ready to bring it to the fore. But I need a project. And unless you've got something else, that's us now.
I believe that that should be quite a valuable project to work on.
So, you'll work with me on that?
Laramedis will smile and say, "Of course." May I hug you?
Yeah. She's going to lean forward in the chair and throw her arms around your neck.
Laramedis will embrace her.
We're gonna go back over to these guys now.
Okay.
Well, that was a thing.
Not these guys. These guys are fine. Wrong guys. Had to look at that for a moment and go, something's wrong here. Where are the colorful characters? This is all grays and blacks and whites. Where's all the, like, yellows and purples and shit? There they are.
There are the bastards.
Not all of my people have been as open-minded as the men I sent with your Claire. They are going to need to hear it from you and see it with some... well, they are going to need to judge for themselves the quality of your character. I do not guarantee that they will all be swayed, and that is why I ask again that should they not be, you are going to let them take their fate in their hands and return to the Underdark.
So long as they leave peacefully, no harm will come to them.
He's going to pause just a moment, and you're going to see his eyes swivel over the group a bit. And he's going to point at Vendar. He's going to say, "You, human."
Yes.
I saw what happened earlier. That a lot of the crowd changed their minds when you told them who you were. My people have little interest in who you are precisely, but they will understand if I tell them that you are someone important. Is that true?
It's kind of complicated, but I am a noble, or at least I was born a noble.
Then your words should carry weight with the people of this city. If you were to tell them that something should be the way it is, then they will listen because of your birthright, just as the Drow listen to their priestesses.
They already listened better to Venda's words than mine. It seemed.
Little one, you spoke from your heart, and you have shown me that there is another caliber of person living on the surface. But men are not so different. They respect power, not so much emotion. The Drow can be similar. Your words, Leah, swayed me. because I am a person who respects character over power. But you only get someone like that when they might be willing to die. I was willing to die to protect my people, and I have been pleasantly surprised that I am still here. What I am saying is, just because they listen more to him than to you does not mean your words are not important.
Besides, they probably wouldn't have listened to him as much if you hadn't worn them down with your arguments.
Maybe. Your words are important too, Seth. You prove to me that regardless of your past, you're willing to let it down to listen.
He smiles as he approaches and says, "Please, call me Zephyrius. It is more to say, but it is more accurate."
Yeah, you may call me Leah, as that's my name and not little one.
Very well, Leah. Forgive me. I see such small person, and I know you do not have the weight of years behind you, but you speak as though you do. And I respect that. I am sorry for calling you little one.
No harm done.
He's going to lead your group over to this corner.
If I look back, what do the four that stood with us do? Do they just stand there like...
They watch. They seem to be conferring. And they follow a little bit. But then they like see the larger group of Drow and they go, "Never mind." And they kind of disperse.
Okay.
He brings you before a large stone building. Over the door is a bright golden sunburst. And within this sunburst you do see the wrinkled countenance of an old man with long wavy hair. You recognize this as a temple of Pelor, the god of the sun. And by contrast, it is surrounded, the front of it, by Drow. A large crowd is here.
That does not make them stand out, I guess.
And he calls out to them in Undercommon, this harsh, hissing language that you heard during the battle, only now being spoken in complete sentences rather than repeated, barked commands. And he turns to you and gestures and continues talking for a moment in Undercommon. He says, "Some of these men speak Common. I can translate to Undercommon for the rest, but they wish to hear your arguments. I have told them that you will each make a short declaration."
Yeah, none of ours.
I was like, this suddenly doesn't involve me.
Yeah.
Honestly, it probably does, though. I don't think he's allowed to get out of it that easily. When I really think about it, as much as I don't really want an NPC involved, he's would be viewed as part of it.
We could have left with Nalia. Then just go his different path.
Yeah, well. I want to start with Raiken, since I figure he'll have the least to say. Let him get it over and done with.
I'm sorry. What am I supposed to be saying?
They want to hear arguments why... They want to hear your declaration of why they should stay and work with the people in this town and not return to the Underdark.
Well, as you already had said, if you try to return to the Underdark, you'll be met with resistance from people. At least this way you have a chance, and perhaps if with your working with the people here in this city, perhaps more of your people down there might see that there is a different way and could change the world for the better in the future for generations to come.
As you speak, you see several drow in this large crowd, nodding, clearly understanding at least enough common to feel like they got your meaning. And then, after he's convinced that you're done speaking, he will turn and he will speak in Undercommon. You are surprised that words that to you sounded so honest and meaningful, how they sound in that language, it almost... you're worried that he's not conveying your words correctly. But as he speaks, you do notice more of them nodding along.
Undercommon is like the German.
It's like the German of this world.
It's very aggressive.
There are several people within this crowd who seem unconvinced, like looking like they hear it, but they don't believe it, and they would rather take their chances elsewhere. I want Jebel to give me an argument.
In terms of...
why they should stay here and work with these people, rather than try to kill them or return to the Underdark, or both.
It's already been... I'm saying this out of character now, because someone already said something about that it would be dangerous for them to return. Was that said to this group, or was that said to the last group?
It is known, but it might serve you to repeat it.
Right.
The group of Drow that you separated from were ones that he said were already on his side in this, that needed no convincing. They knew what was at stake. These ones, you imagine, know what's at stake and don't currently see the value of staying and trying to work with these people who, as you saw in that crowd earlier, still want to kill them.
How long has it been since we were talking to the crowd?
Less than an hour.
Okay.
It was just time for the crowd to have out their petty arguments, they rabble-roused and argued, and then Nalia shut them up with a thaumaturgy, and then left, and then the crowd dissipated. Then the Drow came over and told you what their demands were specifically, which was to clean up the bodies and to have them buried ceremonially in the at the temple of the Raven Queen.
Yeah.
Which was a big ask.
Yeah. Okay. And so he's turned to me and gestured to me.
Yes, he says his people here who still need convincing wish to hear an argument from each of you. There has been an emphasis on this idea that no one person can speak for the group.
Okay. Alright. So, I suppose I will take a step forward.
You do so.
And... okay. Well, you know that... well, returning home now isn't really a certain option. I suppose you're taking your lives into your hands. If you try that, you know, you might... from what I understand, what is told to me is... you might be killed. So... staying here might be a better option. Less chance of dying.
Zephyrius will look down at you, smiling, and say, "Perhaps you should talk about how you can assure them that you will help reduce their chance of dying." And I will point out to you, Jebel, that as a druid, while society, cities, the destruction of nature isn't is something you do not defend, life itself, like the individual person, is still precious. If that helps you formulate an argument. Like, it's not necessarily that the druid values an animal life above a human life, but that the fact that humanoid society tends to form these great congregations, these cities, which destroys the habitat of the animal lives, they tend to fight for those animals more strongly than they fight for humans.
Okay.
Humanoids. But they're still, like, first and foremost defenders of life.
Yeah, okay. Alright. Well, you're in the city. The city's got walls, hasn't it? And I turn to look at the rest of the group.
The few that you saw nodding along with when Raiken spoke are nodding at you.
Right. So, it's a defensible location?
They continue nodding.
You know how to fight?
They continue nodding.
No. So staying here in a defensible location probably makes sense.
About half of them continue nodding.
I really am out of ideas. I turn to Zeph. It just makes sense to stay here. I don't know. If you get the people on your side, then...
I think I see what you are going for. You believe that the argument here is that it is logical to stay where it is safe, and so to work with the people here to make a unified life would keep them safe, rather than chance it in the Underdark where they are viewed as traitors.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, that is what I will tell them you said. As well as the words you actually said.
I don't know, but try to make it more eloquent.
I will tell you what I value about this conversation. No. You are genuine. And I think that is going to go a long way with my people. He begins speaking in Undercommon. And you do see, like, more of them, like, nodding along as he speaks. More enthusiastic nodding. And then sort of this, like, bouncing of the shoulders, like, I guess. And then more nodding. And by the end, a lot more of them are like, they look like they're considering things more than they might have been before. And he smiles back at you and says, I think my people appreciate the lack of eloquence. They feel...
Great.
They feel like you. Like they lack the ability to communicate what they think. And for many of them it is true, because they do not speak common. And so they can communicate through facial expressions that these people are terrified of, or they can communicate through weapons, which these people respond to with weapons of their own.
Right.
We give them a voice. You and I. Tell me something.
It wouldn't be a bad idea if some of them learned to speak common.
Are you truly on board with this idea? Do you think this city can work? Drow and not Drow.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Cyrus.
Mutual respect, mutual cooperation, mutual survival. The world's kind of turning upside down out there right now.
It is, and we will need to work together to counter the plans of Loth and the dragons. You will need us. Cyrus.
Let's see. I had something a second ago, and now you've asked me to say it, I have completely forgotten. So 1 second.
Want me to go with somebody else?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yukikaze. Yukikaze. Vendar.
Okay. Alright. So we have an opportunity here that's never really presented itself before. You know, Drow and surface dwellers have been at each other's throats for forever. But here we have an opportunity to end, or to at least bring a bridge between those hostilities. With this symbol, we can change the world if we work together. We have the possibility of making a peaceful, happy existence for everybody, surface dwellers and Drow alike, wherever they wish to live. But that can only be done if we all take the steps necessary to work together.
He smiles at you, and he says something in Undercommon to them. He says, I need you to nod and say yes now.
Yes.
And you notice that a lot of them, like, actually perk up and start paying more attention. And then he begins to speak in complete sentences in Undercommon to them. And they seem to be following along quite well. A lot of them nodding in agreement. toward the, he finishes, and at the end there's a few of them scratching their chins like they're not quite sure, but the overall feeling you get is that many of them are on board with this. Leah, I have conveyed your words to them before. Did you have anything you wish to add to that? Leah? Malachi? Everyone's dead.
Well, I'm ready.
There's been a murder.
Okay. Cyrus, you got what you wanted to say then.
What I have to say is rather similar to what Vindar said. I hope that we can convince you to stay and to work towards a world of peace. One where Drow no longer have to raid for low. I cannot say that name to save my life.
Wolf.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, for some reason it stopped picking up my microphone.
Weird. I think Malachi fell asleep.
Probably.
Oh well.
So should I continue or are we jumping back to Leah?
No. Continue.
Yeah, continue.
And so I would hope you'd stay for that reason, one I do not have to kill. But I also pose a question. What do you gain what do you have to gain from returning to the Underdark? Where you'd be viewed as a traitor. If you truly believe you have more to gain there than from trying to make a life here, then perhaps you should go, but I hope you do not. Because the more of you we can have here, making an example for the rest of your kind, the better the life will be for everyone.
Alright. I think that will resonate. He begins translating. And you see more assent. There still seems to be some doubt in the crowd, but more heads are nodding than shaking at this point. So he asked Julia if you had anything to add to what you'd said before, because he'd already conveyed your words, but he wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything more you wanted to say.
Right. Yeah, I heard what you said. I wasn't gone.
Oh, okay.
It's just my microphone. And I didn't realize until you asked me a question, because then I tried to answer. I don't know if I have much more to say other than if you conveyed my words, those are what I needed to have said. So
It is fine. I think these people are ready to be convinced. So, the arguments that you've made are going to act as a static value on this. So what we're going to have you guys do is just roll charisma checks to see what you can add to it, and that will yeah, everybody.
okay. Just normal
Oh,
charisma?
enhanceability.
You may do that.
Just charisma, not like perception or not persuasion or something.
Persuasion is fine. Yep.
That will be the same for me, really. No.
If anybody was just bullshitting their way through this, roll deception instead.
Yeah, I hope no one was. So that would give me way better stats.
Wait, what are we rolling?
Persuasion, or if you were lying to them, deception.
Oh, I'm really bad at both.
My advantage came in really handy there. I went from a 5 to a 7.
Nice.
Should I write it down or just say it?
No, say it.
I got 20 in total.
20 in total is 7.
Why do you have advantage?
He had a skill ability he activated.
Ah, okay.
Spell?
Well, enhance ability.
Okay, spell.
Second time I've used it.
There you go.
Yeah, I got 22.
22, okay. Vendor.
I got a 24.
Nice. And Raiken?
13.
13. Alright, that's fine. Alright.
You must have rolled good, Jumbo, or you just do you have persuasion as a profession? Efficient?
Reliable talent?
Yeah.
Alright. So, he says a few more words in Undercommon, and he gestures to you as he's speaking, and he like, swipes his hands out like the sign for no. And the people here nod and seem to indicate that they understand what he's saying to them. And finally, there's like a bit of discourse among them, all in Undercommon, and then a portion of the group steps away towards you, and some of the group steps back away, shaking their heads. I will say that you've got about a 90-10 split here.
So close.
That's pretty excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, 10 with us, 90 against us.
No. No, but about 10% of the crowd steps back from the others. There's some more conferring in an Undercommon. They just don't seem like they'll be convinced. The more words are exchanged back with Zephyrius in Undercommon, and he responds to them in very flat tones, and there's just like slow nodding, and finally the 10% that split off, that dissented, point themselves down the road here, which is a long road, but you do know it eventually goes to a gate.
I thought they were going to the Underdark. I guess it...
Zephyrius turns to you and says, "They will return to the Underdark, but they must go to one of the holes.
Right.
There aren't any in the city."
I suppose they would have been closed up.
With extreme prejudice.
Out of character, that was just Derek Spring not thinking it through.
You do see that one more person seems reluctant to be parted with the people who are taking off, so one more does trickle away from the ascending group to the descending group. And Zephyrius sighs and says, "That one's heart is in the right place, at least. His concern is for his friend." You did a good job here today, convincing these people to give this a chance. I told you before that Volinar will be the spark that sets the world ablaze. That was a hope. A hope I held tightly to, but could not estimate if it would come true or not. After seeing this and hearing your words, and I think further, after you have completed the task of burial for me and my people, it will be a sure thing.
I'm glad to hear that. However, to ensure things don't have a chance to hiccup, I would like if us and some of your men could escort the ones who wish to leave outside the city to make sure that they are not attacked and that we can tell villagers that there's no chance they went and did something on their way out.
They will distrust it if we take all of you for that.
What if it was just me and some of your men?
I want the noble and the girl.
I looked at the two of them. You up for it?
I'm sorry, for what?
For escorting those who wish to leave out of the city to ensure we have a...
Yeah, I'll do it.
Didn't lose track of them, that there can't be any accusations.
Sure.
Very good. Then, when we return, we will see to those bodies. Those men
Indeed.
deserve to be buried properly, now that they are to be considered citizens of this city.
Indeed.
Do not mistake me. We are going to force this change to happen on a time scale that no one could anticipate.
Well, considering current events, that is rather necessary.
You will have to explain yourself on that note later. He is going to collect Vendar and Leah and move past the group of, we'll call them the friendly Drow here, over to the dissenters. He will explain what's going on in Undercommon, and they will begin to move out of the city. It has been a day.
No kidding. I do love these tense talking sessions, but oh my gosh, are they exhausting.
Alright. Everybody can take 700 experience.
Woo!
We'll let Malachi know when he is alive again.
Yeah. 700.
Everybody have thoughtful time.
Very thoughtful.
Yeah.
I had that same problem with Dark had, where it was like, you step forward and you're like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to say, and then you open your mouth like, oh shit, it's all gone.
I'm sorry that happened.
Yes, I hate it. That's like the worst feeling, especially in roleplay. It's like, alright, just about to do this, be awesome, and way to go.
Just do what I did and distract yourself with other trains of thought.
You've got yourself in a completely different pile of things to deal with.
It's true.
You have had relationship issues dumped in your lap.
Well, a relationship we're not yet sure we're in.
Alright.
You know, that is kind of what led to the issues.
I'm gonna call it there.